versus Minnesota should be a win. Versus Michigan State, if they're true to that number 13 ranking, we're going to them right next. We're going to see. Obviously, they don't have Kirk Cousins anymore, but, still a good team. Are the Spartans, of course. I'm sure Wisconsin wants some revenge because of what happened last year. So definitely it's going to be a game at Wisconsin. Should be a win for the Badgers. At Indiana, a win versus Ohio State, another team that the Badgers lost to last year. I think they'll get their revenge there. And then at a very troubled Penn State program, to say the least. But definitely a questionable season for the Wisconsin Badgers. So we're going to see where the Badgers end up when it's all said and done, led by Danny O'Brien, and we're going to see what the extent of the whole mess with Monty Ball is going. Number 13, we just talked about how we were going to get to them, Michigan State. Man, I cannot wait for Friday, August 31st. It's going to be Boise State at Michigan State. I mean, I didn't even know these teams were playing until I clicked on the schedule right now, to be honest with you. Boise State coming in at number 24. They're without Kellen Moore. They're without their running back, who's doing great. Doug Brown, I think, doing great things in the NFL. So, Boise State at Michigan, man. I can honestly tell you that I cannot wait for that game. I'm going to be very pumped watching that game from my hotel room in El Paso. It's going to be great. At Central Michigan. Wait, first of all, let me get to that game real fast. I think Boise State's going to come and beat Michigan State at Michigan State. That's my bold prediction right here. Okay, you go to Central Michigan the next week, you get a win there. You get a win at home against Notre Dame. You get a win at home against Eastern Michigan. Ohio State. That's going to be a very interesting matchup, 50-50 right there. Not going to make a prediction on that one. They're going to win at Indiana. They're going to win versus Iowa. They're going to lose at Michigan. They're going to lose at Wisconsin. They're going to win against Nebraska. They're going to win against Northwestern, and they're going to lose. They're going to win for sure, win big at Wisconsin. So I see, 3-4 losses potentially for the Spartans. I don't see what's too great about them. Team I like a lot, Clemson, opened the season against Auburn. I think they'll beat Auburn. They're going to beat Ball State. They're going to beat Furman. I think they're going to get tripped up at Florida State, but that's obviously a game that they can go in there and win. I think that's a 60-40 chance that the 60 being that they're going to lose, but 40% chance that they're going to win that game. At Boston College, that's certainly another game that's going to be very tough. Boston College, not great out on the road, but definitely a great team at home. So watch out there. Versus Georgia Tech, another good team, another sneaky team, but I think that's going to be a win. Versus Virginia Tech, I think that's got to be a win too. We're going to get to them in 2 picks, or 2 rankings. At Wake Forest, always a very good team at home. That's a Thursday night game. Watch out for that one, but another game that I think Clemson should come out there, and the Tigers should win that game. At Duke should be a win. Versus Maryland should be a win. Versus North Carolina State should be a win. And then a potentially mighty matchup, non-conference matchup to close out the season at home against Connor Shaw, Steve Spurrier, and the Gamecocks of South Carolina, the number 9 ranked team in the nation that we already touched on. That's going to be a very interesting matchup between those 2 teams. Let's see. We got 10 rankings to go, and we got 12 minutes left. We're going to we don't have a time limit on this show. Let's extend this show a little bit. Let's go. Let's make this till about 8:15, 8:30 over on the east, 5:15, 5:30 here on the west. If you're listening, text me, call me, 562-481-9445. We're going to take a quick commercial break right here, and we're going to be right back. See, I told you that'd be a quick commercial break, right? It's like I never left. Let's get to number 15. It's Texas. Texas 8-5 last year, but went 0-4. An unimpressive 0-4 against the top 25. Entered the season back in the top 25 as they usually do. So the Longhorns will open up against Wyoming out of the Mountain West, as well as New Mexico. First two games should be big wins for the Longhorns. Then they go to Ole Miss. That should be a win. Ole Miss really struggled last year, and I don't expect them to be that much better this year with Bo Wallace as their quarterback. At Oklahoma State, that's going to be a very good game. That's a 50-50 game versus West Virginia. I think West Virginia is going to come in and win that game. Of course, the yearly game at the Cotton Bowl against Oklahoma. Oklahoma's going to edge them out. Versus Baylor. Baylor's going to obviously have a depleted team, as we've mentioned, it seems 3 or 4 times, because there's so many Big Ten and Big 12 and SEC and Pac-12 teams this year. We have a question we'll get to in a second. At Kansas obviously, like Kentucky, a great basketball school, not a great football school. At Texas Tech should be a win. Versus Iowa State should be a win. Versus TCU is going to be a fun game to watch, but I think Texas will win. And at Kansas State, I think will be win. So, we're looking at a potential 10-2, 9-3 season. So, I'm not saying that Texas is going to be bad, but I think that they're going to end up about number 20 or something like that. Let's get to the question. We're gonna get. Actually, we'll get to the question when we get to that team, because it's a question about Stanford. We're at 16 right now, and Stanford, the number 21 team in the nation. We'll get to that right in a second. That comes from Rob and San Mateo. Definitely appreciate the text. One more time, if you want to text me, 562-481-9445. Virginia Tech, the Hokies in their new cool uniforms, as you saw on ESPN last night, the little bird legs or camouflage things. You're gonna see those on ESPN3 if you tune in week 2 against Austin Peay, the D1 AA school, Austin Peay. Georgia Tech, that's gonna be a tough first game, but at home I think the Hokies will pull it out. That's going to be a Monday night game to open up the season on September 3rd. That's Labor Day, September 3rd. So one of the only games you're going to see there. Versus Austin Peay. That's going to be a good game as well. Uniform-wise, D1 AA school. Not going to really challenge a ranked team. We haven't seen that since Appalachian State, Michigan, that crazy upset. Not even a couple years ago. It seems like a couple years ago, but time seems to just fly on nowadays. That was like 2005, or 2006, so that was already 6 years ago. At Pittsburgh should be a win for the Hokies. Versus Bowling Green should be a win. Bowling Green out of a weaker conference, Division I. At Cincinnati, at North Carolina, those should be wins. Versus Duke should be a win. But then you get into the thick of the schedule here. You go to Clemson, a game that I think Clemson will win. You go to Miami, a potential upset there brewing for the Hurricanes. You come back home, but it's right against the number 7 team in the nation, the Florida State Seminoles. That's another good game right there, a Thursday night game. So definitely love those ACC Thursday night games. And, back-to-back games against the Hurricanes and the Seminoles. Saturday, November 17th, you go to Boston College, another team that's so hard to play on the road at Boston College. So, it doesn't get any easier for this Hokies team coming down the stretch. They close out against their rivals, Virginia. But, you see the possibility of a 10-2 team here, but 8-4 isn't that impossible for this Hokie team. It's very tough down the stretch for them. Big Ten team, what a surprise! And I'm very excited to watch this opener. Versus Southern Miss, they open the season Saturday, September 1st. Southern Miss, the Conference USA champions last year, did lose their quarterback Andy Davis to the NFL draft. But Southern Miss, a very, very good team. That's gonna be a fun game to watch. Can't wait to watch that one. From El Paso as well. Gonna definitely be inside, because that's a day game. It'll be the heat there. It's gonna be crazy. They go to UCLA, a game. It's gonna be here in LA at the Rose Bowl. Was just there last week. So UCLA, that should be a win for Nebraska though, by the way. So Nebraska should start out 2-0, beating two pretty decent teams, two bowl teams from last year. Arkansas State, another bowl team from last year. They should start out 3-0. Idaho State, not a very good football school, a D1 AA school. Not going to be the same team as Nebraska, but they're going to start off 4-0. They're going to play Wisconsin at home. That's going to be a toss-up game right there, 50-50. They go to Ohio State. I think Urban Meyer and his boys are going to knock them off there. They go to Northwestern. That should be a win. They go back home to play Michigan and Denard Robinson. I think that's going to be a loss. They go to Michigan State. It's going to be that's going to be another toss-up game, 50-50. Home versus Penn State should be a win. Home versus Minnesota should be a win. And at Iowa should be a win. So, 8-4, 9-3 for Nebraska Cornhuskers. Not the same team that they've been in the past the last 2 years, but still definitely a good team. Another Big Ten team, number 18, Ohio State, and the Buckeyes will start their season off at Saturday, September 1st against Miami of Ohio. Should be a win. Versus UCF, a very good UCF team. Blaine Gabbert's little brother transferred there, but UCF on a NCAA ban from the postseason for recruiting violations. That's in basketball and football. So UCF, a little bit of a mess. That should be a win. But definitely I'm going to put them on upset alert right there too. Versus Cal. Man, this is a pretty tough non-conference schedule, by the way. Versus Cal, I think that should be a win as well. Zach Klein, Bryce Treggs, to name a few of the incoming recruits for the Bears. But I think that this is a game that Ohio State's going to win. Versus UAB, should be a win. At Michigan State, that's going to be a toss-up game. It's another toss-up game. Versus Nebraska, we just touched on that. I think Ohio State's going to win that game. At Indiana should be a win. Versus Purdue should be a win. At Penn State should be a win. Versus Illinois should be a win. In the last two games, I think they'll go into Wisconsin and win. But that's going to definitely be a game that Wisconsin's looking to get revenge on. It's going to be a very good game right there. And then versus Michigan to end the season. Michigan finally beat Ohio State last year, and I think they'll do it for the second straight year. I think Ohio State's going to go down. 3 questions. First one, like I said, I'll get to. We're almost at Stanford, but we'll get to the Clemson one since we already passed them up. This one comes from Miguel in San Mateo. So a lot of San Mateo listeners out there. Shout out to the 650. What does Clemson have to do to win games? Well, the thing about Clemson is, they come in number 14 in the nation, but, they played a lot of good ranked opponents, South Carolina, Virginia Tech, Florida State, to say the least. But, they're going to need to get good play out of their young quarterback, Tyler Boyd, and they're going to need to get, Taj Boyd. They're going to need to get a lot of good play out of their young guys. They had such a good recruiting class the last 2 years that these guys really need to come together and gel during the meaningful games of this season. And if they can come together and gel during the meaningful games of the season, Clemson could be a threat to go to a BCS bowl game. So watch out for Clemson. Got a lot of young talent there. If they don't put it all together this year, certainly watch out for them next year. But Clemson's going to be a good team. Thanks for the question, Miguel. Next, we're going to have a question from Juan in San Diego, California. Juan asks, will Penn State have a different attitude going into this season? Well, that's an interesting question. They're going to be without Silas Red. They're going to be without James Brown, who went to Oklahoma. Silas Red, of course, going to USC. A lot of other good players left as well, but a lot of the seniors stuck there and stuck with their team. Bill O'Brien, he's going to have to do a fantastic job of replacing Paterno. Or, you can't replace Paterno. He's such a great coach. In my mind, still the greatest coach in college football history, despite everything that's happened over the last year. But, I think that Penn State is going to come into this season with the attitude of, hey, we're not going to make a bowl game this year, but we're not going to have anything to lose. A lot like USC last year. I think USC last year was a lot more talented than Penn State is this year. But I think Penn State is going to look to upset their opponent every time they play a ranked opponent.